Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day as always. If you are down south, stay warm and stay out of trouble. I know the weather is not quite what you're used to at this time, so don't get yourself in trouble out there in that cold and snow. Shout out to the 19. Folks, Unrivaled, we have initial ratings numbers. The debut of Unrivaled, the new 3v3 Women's Professional Basketball League debuted Friday. We've got some numbers for you. As you can see, debut outpaces non-Caitlin Clark WNBA games on cable. So, TNT and True TV, they combined it. I wish they'd broken out. I'd be curious, but doubleheader Friday night, 313,000 viewers for the first game, 311,000 for the second game. Now, like, if we go over here real quick, again, and I get it, they're spinning it. Most watched women's basketball games on TNT sports platforms ever. Of course, not something the TNT shows, but hey, you gotta spin it how you gotta spin it. And it's not to say the numbers are bad, don't get me wrong. It's just kind of funny. TNT doesn't carry women's basketball. So women's college games. So let me specify with that. Women's professional basketball. They've carried women's college games. Previous high was a Colorado LSU women's college game back in November of 2023 that did 184,000. So the peak viewership, 364,000. I think that was 8:15. I think that was right about, was that right near the end of the first game, I think. So now this included in the comparison to the WNBA, ESPN, ESPN2, and NBA TV. NBA TV, NBA TV, take that out, like for all of them, because that's so low that it really brings down the numbers. But the doubleheader outpaced those combined properties by nearly 50% for the WNBA last season in non-Clark games. Now, it did, as you can see, it trailed the first TGL golf event on ESPN earlier this month, 919,000 viewers on that. But if we go over here real quick, as you can see, I mentioned most watched on TNT Sports for women's basketball, women's basketball viewership record for sports on Max as well, and so forth. So the bottom line is this good? Is this a good number for Unrivaled? Yes. Yes, it is a very good number. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that, and a couple of things we have to look at is, will it be able to hold as we get to multiple nights per week, right? We get to, I think, basically 3 nights per week. We've got games on, True TV. If I remember correctly, Saturday, I think, was only available on True TV and not available on TNT. Now, so I'm gonna say, look, if I just say, is it a good number? Yes, it is a good number. Here are the things or the questions. Can they sustain it? That's going to be a big thing. I think you're going to get early curiosity as well. So while it is a good number, I would have liked to see it higher because I think you're going to get the most curiosity at the beginning. Now, if enough people loved it and they're talking it up to other people, then the ratings grow. If the people who were curious, say, yeah, you know what, not really for me, and then they check out, we'll see what that level becomes as the season goes on. That being said, the most important thing I think to keep in mind is I'm seeing a number of people do it. I've seen another number of articles doing it in trying to use Unrivaled to pressure the WNBA when the collective bargaining agreement comes along. And I completely get it from a business standpoint. That's what you want to do. However, keep this in mind, folks. Unrivaled has very, very, very limited expenses. And that was smart. Those involved in running the league, it was really smart to do things this way for that reason. It's not going to take much to turn a profit, which is why I say, hey, over 300,000 viewers for this, that can turn a profit, right? It's like, quick context. I'm just using that number. I don't know what it would really be like, but say you're doing a sitcom, traditional sitcom on television that you have on your sound stage. You've got your 3 or 4 locations that you use for 90% of the time. It's all set up. You don't, no special effects, no stunts, none of that. It's just half-hour sitcom. Then you get an action style TV show, and I'm trying to think off my top of my head, and I don't want to get into streaming with all that. We get into insane numbers, but like traditional TV, maybe something from a few years ago, like Lethal Weapon, right? You're going to need a lot fewer viewers on the sitcom to still do well than you are with Lethal Weapon, right? So same thing here. The WNBA is 144 players. It'll be more and it'll be 13 franchises. But right now, let's say the 144, 12 franchises all over the US, travel, all those expenses, the different arenas and practice and everything like that. Unrivaled doesn't do that and they don't have that. And so you can't say, oh, well, they're going to turn a profit. And so they're better than the WNBA and all this because you have to start including all of that. Can Unrivaled, if they wanted to grow and become a real competitor to the WNBA and maybe even switch to 5v5, is this enough to do it? No, right? It's not enough to do it because then you're talking about all these other added expenses you would have to do. You got to go from 36 players to, 150 players, and you've got to put them in places throughout the US, and then you have to have arenas to play in and all this other stuff. So I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves when people start framing it is in terms of it's a competitor to the WNBA and it's going to make the WNBA, do things differently because look how well Unrivaled's doing. So, why can't Kathy Engelbert do this? They're very different things. You're talking about the proverbial apples and oranges. So while this is a great number for Unrivaled, I think don't get it confused with what it means in terms of being a competitor with the WNBA. I think that is taking things probably a step too far. I think then the next thing is we're going to have to see what happens going forward. Can Unrivaled sustain these numbers? Can they grow these numbers? Right? What happens Saturday on which was what afternoon games on True TV, I believe is what Saturday was. And then we had some games last night as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the league does going forward. If it grows, right? If we get to the end of the season and average viewership for the games at the end are 500,000, 600,000, that's a different story. And again, it's still night and day, apples to oranges and all that, and compared to the WNBA. But in terms of is Unrivaled a sustainable thing outside of the WNBA? Then the answer would be yes. And then the other thing would be for me, I'm putting this out there. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let's say we get things figured out and we've got things going in the right direction and the WNBA adds their expansion franchises and the ratings start going up and maybe they turn a profit in a couple of years and Unrivaled has been doing well, but the players no longer need it or think they need it because of the money they're making in the WNBA. Can we find a way to then flip Unrivaled to not the stars of the WNBA, but almost more like a developmental league the way the NBA has done? And it doesn't necessarily have to be even players who aren't in the WNBA. It could be the players that are on teams that aren't getting any minutes or what have you. You could still have WNBA players in it, but they're not your starters, they're not your stars. It's something for them in the off season to continue to develop in order to be able to play in the WNBA. So that's something to think about as well. But I just wanted to get this out there, see what y'all think about the ratings. Is it surprise you? Do you think they'd be higher? Do you think they'd be lower? Do you think they're going to grow, decline, or stay roughly the same throughout the Unrivaled season? And hey, is it going to be used as leverage if it does continues to do well in the CBA negotiations with the league, between the league and the players going forward after the 2025 season? But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, as always, so much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate every single one of you that watches, likes, comments, subscribes, all those things. It's really does help out a lot. So don't forget to let me know answer those questions below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you later.